I'll confess that I have a difficult relationship with the words leader and leadership. They're very important concepts because why else would there be so many different leadership courses? But what exactly does it mean? And what do leaders do differently from everyone else? What explicit behaviors, responsibilities, or actions define leadership? I find it difficult to understand the current meaning of leadership because the term is often tied to a cultural context. In modern organizations, a leader is someone who shapes the culture and can influence the culture. And as a result, many of the ideas around leadership are ideas based on culture and behavior. We talk about emotional intelligence, inclusion, and changing our stance to suit the situation. These are positive behaviors in many regards, but they don't define leadership as I understand it. And because the culture of large organizations is often very fluid and complex, the whole idea of leadership is often an ambiguous construct. Understanding structure dictates power. Help me see a more defined and concrete set of actions that define leadership. Let's jump in. Restructuring for empowerment. Leadership involves actively reconfiguring the structure of the organization to decentralize decision making and distribute power in a way that supports agility and innovation. Leaders should not just focus on maintaining control, but on creating structures that empower teams to make decisions close to the work they are doing. Example: in companies like Spotify, leadership has embraced the squad, tribe, chapter, and guild model, a flexible structure that decentralizes decision-making and allows teams, squads, to operate with autonomy. Leaders at Spotify don't dictate how work is done at the team level. Instead, they focus on creating a structure that supports innovation and collaboration, facilitating change by addressing resistance. According to Kane's law, resistance to change is often structural, tied to power dynamics. A key leadership role is recognizing where this resistance is coming from and managing power redistribution within the organization. Rather than simply mandating change, leaders need to engage stakeholders, especially those who might feel their roles are being diminished. Example: when Microsoft transformed under the leadership of Satya Nadella, one of his first steps was to address the hierarchical structure and rigid silos that had stifled innovation. He introduced a cultural shift focused on collaboration, customer centricity, and openness, but this was only successful because it was paired with structural changes that empowered teams and flattened the hierarchy. Leadership as architect of adaptability. In the context of Kane's law, leaders are more organizational architects than traditional decision makers. They need to create adaptive structures that allow the organization to pivot quickly in response to market changes or technological disruptions. This involves flattening hierarchies, removing bottlenecks, and enabling fluid collaboration across departments. Example: at Amazon, under Jeff Bezos, leadership implemented a structure that focuses on 2 pizza teams, small autonomous groups that can work independently. This structural design allows Amazon to scale while maintaining agility. Bezos didn't just lead with vision, he actively created a structural model that enabled fast decision-making and innovation. Leadership focuses on long-term structural flexibility. Rather than just focusing on immediate results, leaders in line with Kane's law must think about long-term structural flexibility. They ensure that the organization's structure remains fluid enough to adapt to future challenges. This is particularly important as markets and industries evolve, often unpredictably. Example: Netflix under Reed Hastings is a good example of this. When moving from DVD rentals to streaming, and later to content production, Hastings actively restructured the company to support these shifts. Netflix's culture of freedom and responsibility is supported by structural elements like minimal hierarchy and decentralized decision-making, allowing it to stay agile as the entertainment industry evolves. Redistribution of power, not concentration. Leaders in line with Kane's law don't hoard power at the top, but redistribute it across teams and individuals. They create opportunities for empowerment, where teams have the authority to make decisions, experiment, and take risks without constantly seeking approval from higher-ups. This decentralization is key to fostering a culture of innovation and fast iteration. Example: Haier, a Chinese multinational appliance maker, restructured into a network of autonomous micro-enterprises under CEO Zhang Ruimin. Each unit operates almost like a startup, with control over its decisions and resources. This radical shift in power dynamics has allowed Haier to remain innovative and adaptable in a competitive global market. Key characteristics of leadership under Kane's law. Architect of structure. Leadership is about building and maintaining structures that enable innovation, not just issuing directives or controlling outcomes. Leaders need to focus on structural adaptability, creating environments where power can shift as necessary and teams are empowered to make decisions. Managers of power distribution. Leaders must manage power dynamics within the organization to prevent entrenched hierarchies from stifling change. By redistributing decision-making power to teams and reducing middle management bottlenecks, they facilitate more effective innovation and change. Facilitators of change, not just visionaries. In Kane's law, leaders must act as facilitators of change, creating structural conditions that allow new ideas to take root and addressing the power-based resistance that typically blocks transformation efforts. They need to align the organizational structure with the desired outcomes, e.g., greater agility or innovation. Champions of long-term flexibility. Instead of focusing solely on short-term goals, leadership in line with Kane's law champions long-term structural flexibility, ensuring the organization remains adaptable to future changes and disruptions. Leadership in the light of Kane's law. Leadership, according to Kane's law, is not about holding power, but about distributing it intelligently and designing structures that enable others to perform at their best. Leaders must understand that to drive innovation, foster adaptability, or make meaningful cultural changes, they need to first reshape the organizational structure, allowing power to flow where it's most effective. Leadership is no longer just about managing people. It's about managing the structure that governs how power, communication, and decision-making flow through the organization. This blog will be posted on Christmas Eve 24, although I'm writing it in early November. I wish you season's greetings. May you have a peaceful holiday season surrounded by your family.